Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. I make videos about interview preparation, HR questions, and how I got selected for the major IT companies. If you find this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Hello everyone. So I recently participated in the campus placement by Thoughtworks, and I thought of sharing my experience with you. So, as for the procedure, Thoughtworks has 4 parts. First is the written test. Second is the code pairing round, which is a slightly new round as compared to the major IT companies. The third round is the technical interview, and fourth is the social change and leadership interview. On my campus, Thoughtworks came for the application developer profile offering 8.3 LPA. And stay tuned and watch this video till the end. I'll be mentioning some myths and pro tips about this company. Okay, so as for the first round, which is the written test, it consists of basically three rounds. First is the MCQ round consisting of 9 questions. Second is the code evaluation round consisting of 4 questions. And third is the coding round consisting of 3 questions. The total duration was of 90 minutes for this particular test, consisting of all the 3 sections. Okay, as for the MCQs, they were mostly based on problem solving and clean code. Apparently there's a concept named as clean code, which is not very known by most of the students. So you can go and search about this on the internet. You can find some questions and read about it, like how clean code is achieved and what it means. There were general DSA questions. You can practice all of these basic questions on GFG or IndiaBix, any of these websites. They have good amount of questions for these particular sections. Okay, then the next round was the code evaluation round, in which there were 4 questions. They were basically output based questions. The topics for this round were mostly based on linked list or arrays, mainly the searching and the sorting algorithms and trees. Like some figure was given, some corresponding question to it was given, and we just had to figure out like what will be the output or the number of times the loop is running in this questions like that. It was very easy to do again. Okay, as for the next coding round, I was dreading this round a lot, but fortunately it was simpler to what I'd expected. It was like medium level. The questions were mainly from arrays, strings, and dynamic programming. That too, a very basic level of dynamic programming. They were doable. If you have done a good practice in DSA questions, if you have a good command over them, you're good to go. It was not very difficult. Okay. Then fortunately I got selected for the next round, which was the code pairing round. There's one tip for the previous round, that don't just focus on doing the coding questions. Also try and do the evaluation questions and the MCQ questions correctly. Like try to achieve as much accuracy as you can. Okay, for the code pairing round, let me first explain what this is. In this round, what happens, they basically want to focus on your OOPS concepts and your collaboration skills, like and your teamwork skills. Thoughtworks is a company which highly values employees who can work in a teamwork, who have good values, who like care about the society and other people. So in these rounds they focus on those skills also, like those virtues also of a person. So in this code pairing round, they just want to see how good are you at communicating your ideas and understanding other people's ideas, and what your coding, like how your coding knowledge is. So what happens in this round, they give you a question which is a system design question, a very basic system design question, in which you just have to use your OOPS concepts, and you have to design a basic structure, like what will be the class in this, what will be the object in this, what kind of function should be included, all that. And there are 2 thought workers available in your meeting. They keep coming in 10-15 minutes to your breakout room in the meeting, and they discuss like what your progress is and what you're planning to do. They just keep discussing the question with you, and they give you hints if you're going wrong, or whatever hints they give you, you should just listen to them and just try to follow them. It's basically doing coding collaboratively, like with them. So okay, it's not a competition against them. It's a myth that people feel that 2 people would be there and you have to compete against them and code against them. It's not that. You have to collaborate with them in the coding part. So as for me, I got a very basic, trading question, and I just had to design the classes and the objects. This one thing about Thoughtworks is that the rounds are very long in duration. This lasted for about 2.5 hours, this particular round. Okay, then so I was able to clear this round and I got shortlisted for the next round, which was the technical interview round. This round has two panelists and it lasted for about 2 hours. Again, a very long duration, but okay. So, in the technical interview, there were two people, like I mentioned. One was a male interviewer, one was a female interviewer for me. So, the guy asked me to, when I joined the meeting, he asked me to introduce myself. After I introduced myself, then he said that okay, on what topic should we start discussing first, so I said okay, we can start by projects. So he said okay. So then we went to the project discussion. They asked me like what all projects I had made and what all challenges I have faced while making that project. Challenges like in terms of any technical, lack of knowledge, or maybe if it was a team project, then communication problems, all of those. Then he asked me that if I had done any testing on it. So what I understood, that if I've tested the website that I made, that if I've tried to run it and shown it to people. So I said yes. So he was asking me about some system testing, like not instead of manual testing, some system testing. So I was not aware of that concept. So I said no, I've not done that. So he said okay. Then since one of my project was in Angular and I had used TypeScript, so they asked me some questions about that, like difference between TypeScript and JavaScript and which is better. So to which I replied that TypeScript is better. Then they asked me if I had learned any new things in the projects and what my basic, plan was of the, completion of project, like from getting the idea to completion of code, like what all steps did I use. Then after a good 40 or maybe 30-minute discussion about my projects, we jumped to the next section. That was the OOPS round. In this round, they asked me the classic question like what are the pillars of OOPS, that is abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and abstraction. They asked me what is inheritance, and after I'd given some real life examples, there's one tip: whenever you're being asked about any of the concepts or any of the technical terms, always try to give some examples. Even if the interviewer has not asked you to, try to give it. And it would be great if you can give some real life example also. It shows that you're very well thorough with the concept and you know what it is. So after I'd done that, then he asked me like how I have used inheritance in web development. They like tried to collaborate my two domains into one and asked me if I had seen any similarities between web and normal coding. So for this I mentioned that in web development, if you're a web developer, you would know that in CSS, you can create classes and IDs, and you can use the particular CSS for a lot of buttons or a lot of elements. So I said that the concepts of classes are again being used in CSS. So examples like that, whatever I could think of, I mentioned them. Then we moved to the DSA round, in which they started giving me questions and I had to solve them, like I had to code them. I shared my screen and I had to code them on my Visual Studio Code. So this started with a very easy question. They gave me the segregating 0, 1s and 2s questions, like in an array 0s, 1s and 2s are given and I have to arrange them in like first all the zeros should come, then 1s and 2s. So I kept on giving approaches, like I gave a lot of approaches like using sorting or using maps, a lot of approaches. I think about 4 to 5. Like after every approach they used to go like, okay, can you think of something else also? So after I'd done, we had brainstormed about this question a lot. Then he said okay, it's good. Okay, now we'll move to the next question. They gave me some questions from linked list. Then we started general discussion about linked list, like why it is better than arrays or why is it not. And he gave me a question where 2 linked lists were given. I had to find a common point, questions like that. And then then he gave me one questions from trees also. So about like 4 to 5 questions. In the end, the last 2 to 3 questions I was not required to code them. I just had to explain my logic, but in the first 2 questions I did my proper coding in them. So we discussed almost 4 to 5 questions. Okay, then after this round, we moved to the next section of the interview, which was the DPMS round. In this, they had given me a good big question about management system, like something about the company, like departments, employees, the number of leaves they take. A lot of things were happening in that question. So they asked me to like share my screen. Like Paint or some editor, and to design the system, like what would be the tables, what would be their attributes, data types, and primary keys, all of that stuff, and how would I link these tables. So it was more of a discussion round. They were like equally participating with me in the designing. They kept giving me suggestions, they kept giving me hints, and we, just, it was again like we were like, all the three of us were trying to solve this question. It really felt like that. So it was again very fun. So this was the last round of the interview, and after this they asked me how would I rate this interview and how I think the performance was, and if I had any questions. So one tip, in any questions, always try to ask something about the company or general about the interview from the interviewers. In this question, it looks that you are interested. If you say that I don't want to ask, it gives a very bad impression. So always ask something. So there's one thing about I would like to say about the interview rounds, that the people at Thoughtworks, or particularly my interviews, they were very friendly, they were very helpful. And even though this interview lasted for about 2 hours, it did not feel like an interview to me. It was more of like a fun discussion. I won't deny that there were situations, there were questions that I was not able to solve. I won't say that I was not able to solve, but it took me some time. But they were patient enough, and they were discussed well with me. So yes. Okay, so after I had given my interview, about an hour later, I got a mail from the HR that I was shortlisted for the next round, which was again scheduled for the next day. So this is the last round, and like I mentioned earlier, Thoughtworks is a company which highly values social values and causes happening around us. And so it's not like a normal HR interview. It's more of about what I personally feel about the social changes or causes happening around me. So also, for this particular round, they advise you to go through the website properly. If you go through their website, you can see like they have written a lot of blogs, and they have started a lot of initiatives to support women, to support LGBT communities. So you should always go through their website, because it's very important for this particular round. Okay, in social change and leadership round, when I joined the meeting, there was an HR. She first asked me like what I was expecting from this interview, like what kind of discussion was I expecting. I just generally described it. She then asked me to introduce myself. There's one point in the introduction. You can try and mention all the volunteer work or the social work that you've done till now, because it can create a good impression on the interviewer, since it's a social change and a leadership round, or any of the leadership tasks that you've done before, like any class monitors or hackathon leaders, anything like that, you can mention them. So she asked me like what are the most prominent causes according to me. I may mention those. Then she asked me to give any examples of gender discrimination when I faced it. I mentioned those. Then she took my views on LGBTQ community, and she gave me very situational based questions, like what will I do if this happens in my team, what will I do if that happens. So it really depends on like how your discussion is going on and what type of situations are arising. Then she asked me like, I'm a millennial, so what can I bring to the company? So to this I replied that since I'm young, I have a lot of energy, I don't have any responsibilities, so I can do a lot of hard work, I can do a lot of smart work for the company, like answers like that. Then she asked me the classic question, why Thoughtworks, gave the answer. Then any questions, again always try to ask something from the interviewer. Don't just say that you don't have any questions. Okay, after this round got over, 2 to 3 days later the results came out and I got selected. So yeah. Okay, as for the pro tips for the company, always be confident about what you're saying and what you believe in, because the interview process is quite rigorous here, and you can't fake it. Just have to be confident, and even if you don't know the answers to some questions, or you're not able to get to the solution, don't feel embarrassed or something like that. The interviewers are very friendly, and they always try and give you some hints to the questions, so pick on those and try to move in that particular direction. Also, I won't say that there's a myth that the interview process is very hard of Thoughtworks. It's not hard, it's rigorous. They, ask you questions about all the domains. That is true. But again, it's, just to see that if you are a good candidate or not. It's just that. So if you're confident and you can take good hints, you're good to go. If you have any questions or any doubts about this procedure or anything else, you can always put down those in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. And thank you.